Once again, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the third week of our free FSVP compliance familiarization training. I'm Jessril from the Customer Success Team at Consultare Inc. Group. Last week, we covered the requirements program under FSVP Section 1.502. Today, we will be focusing on 21 CFR Part 1 Subpart L, Section 1.503 Personnel Program as outlined under the Foreign Supplier Verification Program or FSVP for food importers. This program ensures that U.S. importers assign qualified individuals or QI who possess the appropriate education, training, or experience to develop and carry out FSVP activities effectively and in compliance with FDA requirements. We will review the responsibilities of the FSVP QI and how their role ensures that all supplier evaluations, hazard analysis, and verification procedures are conducted by competent personnel capable of interpreting records and making informed decisions about food safety. By understanding this requirement, companies can establish a reliable compliance framework that prevents unsafe or non compliant food from entering the U.S. market, strengthens supplier oversight, and demonstrates due diligence during FDA inspections. This not only supports regulatory compliance, but also reinforces the company's commitment to ensuring consumer safety and maintaining trust in imported food products. By the way, this session is sponsored by Consultare Inc. Group, a compliance company. Founded in 2007, we began by assisting businesses with U.S. import and export compliance and have since evolved into a global provider of food safety, quality, and certification support. Today, our services revolve around compliance management software, end-to-end services, and specialized training that help organizations achieve and maintain compliance with international standards. Through our platform, interlinkiq.com, we offer an integrated compliance management system that streamlines documentation, monitoring, and audit readiness. We also provide dedicated compliance and certification support programs for FSVP, PCQI, SQF, PRCGS, FSSC 22000, ISO 9001, GMP, and HACCP, helping businesses strengthen their regulatory compliance, enhance operational efficiency, and ensure alignment with global food safety and quality management standards. Now let's go over our training schedule. This week, we will focus on the personnel program outlined in 21 CFR Part 1, Subpart L, Section 1.503, which answers the question, who must develop and perform activities under the Foreign Supplier Verification Program or FSVP. This section highlights the importance of establishing a personnel program to ensure that only qualified personnel are developing and performing FSVP activities. In today's session, we will begin by familiarizing ourselves with the FSVP 1.503 Personnel Program. We'll start with a clear description of the requirements, followed by a walkthrough of the compliance action activities, which are scheduled tasks carried out on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and semi-annual basis to ensure ongoing certification readiness. We will also discuss the importance of the annual review and internal audit activities to verify the effectiveness of the program and maintain continuous improvement. After this section, we will open the floor for a Q&A session, giving you the opportunity to clarify any requirements and ask questions related to implementation. If you have questions as we go through the presentation, feel free to type them in the chat box and we'll make sure to address them during the discussion afterward. And as part of this training, you also can request access to a free 90-day trial of the FSVP compliance management software. This is designed to help automate compliance schedules, track supplier verification activities, and maintain complete audit-ready records. And finally, upon completion of this familiarization training, participants will receive a training certificate. To ensure you receive your certificate, please make sure you have filled out the free certification familiarization training sign-up form that we shared with you in the chat box. On the screen, you will see a sample of the familiarization certificate that you will receive upon completing each session. With that, let's move forward to our training session where we will be working directly with the FSVP Compliance Management System software. So let's start by going over the description of the FSVP Section 1.503 Requirements Program. Please take a look at the description on the screen. The purpose says defines personnel responsibilities, qualifications, and training requirements to ensure that all FSVP activities are implemented by competent individuals. So what are the responsibility for the FSVP? First, the importer must develop, maintain, and follow an FSVP for each food and supplier. Ensure all FSVP activities are performed or overseen by qualified individuals or QIs. Maintain current documentation available for FDA inspection. If no U.S. owner or consignee exists, a U.S. agent or representative of the foreign supplier assumes responsibility. Number two, qualified individual requirement. All FSVP tasks must be conducted or overseen by a qualified individual with appropriate education, training, or experience. Responsibilities. The QI will develop the FSVP, conduct hazard analysis, evaluate supplier risk, oversee verification, review corrective actions, and confirm program adequacy. The knowledge requirements, he or she must understand U.S. food safety regulations like preventive controls, produce safety or CGMPs, as well as key hazard categories and verification or auditing principles. Number three, use of external experts or consultants. Importers may use qualified external experts or consultants if their qualifications and findings are well documented. The importer retains full legal responsibility and oversight for all FSVP activities. Number four, FSVP training requirements. Personnel must be trained to apply hazard analysis, preventive controls, supplier evaluation, and verification principles effectively. Recognized courses such as FSPCA's FDA recognized FSVP training meet training requirements. Maintain documentation such as training certificates, experience records, and course completion documents. Number five, oversight, accountability, and reassessment. Provide continuous supervision for all qualified individuals and FSVP personnel. Reassess competencies when there are changes to products, suppliers, or regulatory requirements, and ensure that both internal and external FSVP roles are properly supervised and documented. So here's the personal program objectives at a glance. For the objective, assign a qualified individual. The requirement, FSVP managed by competent, trained personnel, and evidence of compliance are in the form of certificates, resumes, or qualification records. Ensure oversight. The requirement is importer supervises FSVP implementation. The evidence of compliance are organizational charts or delegation records. For the objective, maintain documentation, the requirement is training and qualifications are properly recorded. The evidence of compliance are personal files and training lags. Finally, for the periodic competency review, the requirement is to reassess roles as conditions or requirements change, and the evidence of compliance are in the form of updated records or requalification notes. Now you may update or edit the description as needed to reflect any revisions to the FSVP requirements. Or alternatively, you could also put your SOP here for you to properly manage your program. Now, to implement this program, we have created a list of action items in the compliance tab. So as you can see, this section helps the importer or the designated FSVP QI stay organized by scheduling tasks according to frequency, whether they are performed daily, weekly, monthly, or quarterly or semi-annually. So here are examples of your compliance action items or the tasks that you need to perform if you are the FSVP QI. For your daily task, you need to verify that only designated qualified individuals perform or supervise FSVP related tasks. Next is to confirm that all personnel use the latest approved procedures, supplier records, and hazard analysis. Check importer or US agent identification is correctly documented in import files. For your weekly activities, this include ensuring assigned QIs and support personnel are up to date in the FSVP organizational chart, confirm consultants' credentials and reports are properly reviewed and approved, check if new or reassigned personnel have completed required FSVP or food safety training, ensure personnel qualification and training files are current and complete, and confirm that each foreign supplier and product has a designated QI. For the quarterly activities, this include evaluate staff understanding of the FSVP policies and updates through spot checks or comprehension quizzes, verify recommendations from external audits or expert reviews are addressed and closed, review if changes in company structure affect FSVP responsibilities or oversight. And then for your biannual or semi-annual activities, this include verifying QIs, maintain competency based on experience, training, and FSVP performance, evaluate if training outcomes align with performance and compliance results, and confirm external expert contracts and scopes remain valid and compliant. Basically, this serves as your checklist of your compliance activities that importer or the FSBPQI needs to perform. You can either add your own compliance action items or we can preload all the required activities for you to perform. Now, to complete these activities, we've provided corresponding work instructions and compliance activities in the instruction and evidence section, along with the required artifacts or records to document completion. For example, to complete the action item which states that verify that only designated qualified individuals perform or supervise FSVP related tasks, let's take a look at the specific work instructions on how to accomplish this. So for you to complete that action item, first, you need to identify FSVP team members. So this includes compiling the list of employees assigned FSVP responsibilities. They may include the QA or FSQA, the regulatory, procurement, supply chain, or receiving personnel. Next is to verify against the organizational chart or responsibility matrix. So you need to have your FSVP team roster, responsibility matrix, or organizational chart excerpt. Next is to determine required training topics. You need to confirm the required courses based on roles such as FSVP policy and procedures, supplier approval or verification, hazard analysis, documentation and record keeping, and import compliance and regulatory updates. For your artifacts and records, you need to complete the training requirements matrix, SOP references, or competency checklist. Next step is to retrieve training records from LMS, HR, or from manual logs. So you need to collect training evidence for each FSVP team member. This includes training title, completion date, the trainer, and the certificate if applicable. So you need your LMS export, attendance sheet, training certificates, or your HR training log. Next is to verify completeness and current status. You have to check that each team member, the FSVP team member, has completed all the applicable modules or trainings. And you also need to confirm training are current and not expired. So you have to um, complete or fill up the training compliance tracker, gap analysis sheet, or your training summary. Next step is to identify missing or outdated training. So you need to flag individuals with incomplete or overdue training, and cross-check against role or core requirements and any policy updates. So your artifacts and records involved in this step are your exception report, non-compliance log, or follow-up list. After that, you need to initiate makeup or refresher training once you have identified any missing or outdated training. So for this to happen, you need to schedule training for individuals with gaps and assign due dates and notify responsible parties. So you have your training plan, assignment notifications, and updated training schedule to complete. Next step is to maintain documentation and audit readiness. So you have to compile training records into one controlled file or digital folder. And you also need to ensure that records are version controlled and accessible for inspection. This is for easy tracking and monitoring. So you need to complete the consolidated training packet, retention log, or the compliance folder. Finally, you have to report status to the FSVP lead or management. So this can be done by providing a summary of compliance, gaps, and corrective actions, and elevate high priority training deficiencies if necessary. For the artifacts and records, you need to complete the management summary report, meeting notes, and dashboard updates. So these are just example of how to complete a specific action item. Now, to complete this action item, to switch from no to yes, you need to upload supporting evidence of your artifacts, records, or your monitoring checklist or logs. So for this same section or action item, verify that only designated qualified individuals perform or supervise FSVP related tasks. You can demonstrate compliance by uploading an example of a record in the form of, let's say, FSVP, QI, designation, and training record. So let's take a look at a sample of this document. FSVP qualified individual or QI designation and training record. This document confirms that a certain um, racial what's the name of the QI here? Rachel Bennett, yeah. A certain Rachel Bennett has been officially designated by Vital Pure Imports LLC as the company's FSVP QI. So it shows that she has completed the required FSPCA and yeah, FSCPA and the corresponding QI or um preventive controls, PCQI training as well, and FDA import compliance and FSMA seminar. So it shows that she is competent to handle FSVP tasks, to perform and oversee all FSVP related activities. This record also includes management authorization and signatures verifying her qualification as the FSVP QI. So because of this competency, now she can perform foreign supplier evaluation and approval, as shown in this example of a foreign supplier evaluation and approval form. So as you can see here in the sign off, she now can review and approve because of her education, experience, and competency gained as the FSVP QI. So this is just an example of an evidence of compliance uh, on how to complete a specific action item. Your aim is to complete all the compliance action items by uploading supporting documents and turn every no to yes. So you are confident that you are compliant with the FSVP requirements. Now let's go over the annual review tab, which serves as your gap assessment and internal audit checklist. So these are presented in a form of questionnaire aligned with the FSVP requirements under 21 CFR Part 1 Subpart L, specifically the Personnel Program. It lists all the required annual review items to help you maintain compliance with this specific FSVP requirement. Now let's take a look at the assessment or the annual review questionnaires here. First, has a designated qualified individual or QI been formally assigned to oversee all FSVP activities? Is the QI's training and experience documented and up to date, like FSPCA or FSVP certification training? Are all FSVP related activities performed or directly supervised by a qualified individual? Is there a clear documentation identifying the importer, US agent, or consignee responsible for the FSVP? Does the organization have an updated FSVP organizational chart showing assigned personnel and reporting lines? Are all personnel involved in hazard analysis, supplier verification, and corrective actions properly trained? Is there a documented training matrix showing FSVP roles, required competencies, and training status? Are new hires or reassigned personnel provided FSVP and food safety training before assuming responsibilities? Are training certificates, resumes, or qualification records retained in personnel files? Have external experts or consultants used in FSVP been verified for competency and qualifications? Are reports and recommendations from external experts reviewed and approved by the QI? Are internal personnel periodically reassessed for competency and understanding of FSVP updates? Is there a procedure to requalify or retrain personnel when product, supplier, or regulations change? Are QI and personnel competency reviews conducted at least once a year? Are there documented records of QI oversight and approval of key FSVP activities such as hazard analysis or verification? Does the importer maintain written procedures defining supervision and accountability for FSVP personnel? Is the importer maintaining full legal responsibility of or for FSVP even when external experts are used? Are training programs evaluated for effectiveness at least once a year for knowledge test or performance review? And then are refresher or continuing education sessions conducted for QIs and supporting FSVP personnel annually? And has the top management reviewed FSVP personnel qualifications and training performance during management review? So these are just examples of your annual review assessment questionnaires for you to comply with the requirements under the personnel program. Now let's speak an example of how to complete a certain assessment or annual review item. So let's speak this question here. Are new hires or reassigned personnel provided FSVP and food safety training before assuming responsibilities? Let's take a look at how to comply or how to perform this assessment item. First, you need to identify training needs for new or reassigned staff. Then you need to conduct pre-assignment training, verify training effectiveness, document completion prior to assignment, provide follow-up or refresher training if needed, and maintain records for compliance. So as you can see, you have here the specific steps and actions that you need to perform and the corresponding artifacts or records that you need to complete as evidence of compliance. Now let's take an example of an evidence of compliance to comply with this question. Are new hires or reassigned personnel provided FSVP and food safety training before assuming responsibilities? Let's take a look at this record, new hire and reassignment training record. It shows that all newly hired and reassigned personnels involved in FSVP related activities at a certain company, Fresh Roots Imports LLC, received appropriate FSVP and food safety training before assuming their assigned responsibilities. So this record identifies that each trained employee, their role, training type, completion date, and verification outcome, demonstrating that the company ensures staff competency prior to performing the regulated duties. So for example, the record shows that Kevin Ross who was reassigned from QA department to the supplier evaluation team, completed training on FSVP supplier evaluation and documentation review on September 13, 2025. So his training was conducted by the compliance director and he was verified as competent before officially assuming his new responsibilities. This documentation confirms that the organization maintains a proactive approach to compliance by ensuring personnel understand FSVP principles, supplier verification procedures, and record keeping requirements, helping prevent errors, non compliances, and potential food safety risks. Then again, your goal is to turn the status of every annual review questionnaire from no to yes to help you measure compliance progress while also preparing your products and facility for a potential FDA inspection audit. Now let's proceed with the Q&A session. You may ask any questions related to today's topic, or you may also email us at hello@consultareinc.com. In the meantime, while you might be typing your questions, we are inviting you to join our other free certification familiarization training held every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. Central. Topics include FSSC 22000, SQF, and BRCGS certifications, FDA Food Code 2022, and 21 CFR Parts 117 and 111, or CGMP for human food and dietary supplements. You may also request to schedule a one-on-one FSVP coaching session for a more personalized support with your specific FSVP requirements. Thank you so much for joining today's meeting. We or I mean training. We invite you to join us again next week as we discuss our next topic, hazard analysis program. For those who have not filled up the free certification familiarization sign up form, please feel free to do so and specify if you wish to get your 90-day free software. This software provides access to the compliance dashboard, training management tools, customer and supplier requirements management, and e-forms or digitized forms, ideal for those transitioning from a paper-based to a paperless system. If you have any questions, clarifications, or feedback regarding today's training, please don't hesitate to reach out to us at hello@consultareinc.com. Thank you so much for your participation, and we wish you a pleasant day ahead.